Well, just last week, we watched as protesters gathered outside of Santa Cabrini Hospital after the OQLF sent their inspectors to make sure everything was up to code, their code. Well, the idea of the province's Anglophones having to fight to maintain access to English healthcare services has been front and center for a while now, especially for our next guest, constitutional lawyer and political commentator, Frédéric Bérard, who's been warning us that this very thing was on its way. Maître Bérard, thank you for joining us.
Thanks to you, Joanne.
So, were you surprised when the OQLF sent their guys to the hospitals to check it
Well,
out?
actually, I don't want to tell you that I told you so, but
You did,
that's,
yes.
that's the case, though. The first time we spoke together, I think it was maybe in April or March, I don't recall. We talked about this, and I remember that for me it was pretty clear that this was the sort of things that could come at one point, because Bill 96 is very unclear. It's ambiguous. It's written in a way that gives a lot of power to the authorities and gives a lot of creates a lot of how may I put it,
Obstacles, yeah.
this is clearly arbitrarian, and as we see right now, we have a new directive who comes from nowhere and could probably change people's life in a way.
So, I mean, if you think about sort of that older generation of Montrealers, right, or
Yeah.
Quebecers even, whose French isn't, they've managed to figure it out in their everyday lives, but when they're in that healthcare environment, when they're seeking help, when they're in that sort of very vulnerable place, what do you see happening now, right? These people need to be communicating in English if that's the language they're more comfortable with in this moment in their lives. How does that technically work? This is what I keep asking you. Are they going to have to carry a piece of paper around? How do you see this unfolding?
Well, the thing is, even the directive is not that clear. Do you need that certificate in your hands? I mean, if you have a car accident and you go to the emergency, do you have that kind of paper in your wallet? Personally, I will never have that kind of certificate with me. So, I mean, it puts people's security in a jeopardy in a way, in certain case. And don't forget that the right to security is validated by the Quebec Charter of Rights and Canadian Charter of Rights at the same time.
So what do they do? Because this is so interesting, right? Because we've got our Charter of Rights, we've got Bill 96. We are going to have these situations where people are going to run into this big problem. What can people do in these situations? I mean, we saw that they're protesting, but what can they do if this continues to move forward?
Well, actually, I think that now, even with the fact that the directive is not that clear, I think that there might be an action that could be undertaken against government in the sense that the rights to security might be violated. Because think about it: you go to the emergency, you're not able to express yourself perfectly in French. And we ask you for a certificate that you don't have. So think about the result of that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it puts people's lives in a way in jeopardy, as I said. And you know what? It makes me remember one of the liner of Lucien Bouchard, who was the premier at the time, who said to the Anglo community, well, actually, when you go to the hospital, you don't need a language test, but you need the blood test.
Yeah,
Let's go with the blood test and let's forget about the language test. And I think that this is clearly the gros bon sens, as we say in French.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms, because you're also a political commentator, so I want to get your take on, we're coming up on elections. People are, putting, they're setting down their camp. They're saying, this is what I believe in. This is me. I believe in this. This is my party. What's going on here? What is the political move here? Is this political? I mean, everything is politics, but what do you think is happening?
Don't forget that the government, the CAC and the local government made a lot of political points against the Anglophone community.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the tuition fees,
Yeah.
Drama. Remember, I think each and every time that they talk about Anglophones or English language, that's the end of the world. Remember Dawson, remember Concordia, remember all the stuff with the OQLF. So each and every time you talk about language in Quebec, it is always like an emergency, and they present actually the Anglo community as some kind of threat to the flourishing of language, of French language. And seriously, this is a shift, because obviously with the Quebec Liberal Party, we haven't seen that in the past, but we never seen that with Lucien Bouchard, with Bernard Landry, with René Lévesque, obviously. So I think it's a very, very dangerous tendency here. I'm not sure that they're going to,
Are they going to back down, do you think, before the elections, or is this what's going to get bigger and bigger, you think?
I'm not sure if it's going to get bigger, but what I know now is that this is the new propension, this is the new tendency, and this is the new culture, I would say. Because if you go ahead in the media and say what I'm telling you right now, which is stop bashing the Anglo community, I'm going to get bashed myself, Francophone media.
I was going to say.
Yeah, and on social media, because I will be seen as a threat to the French language in Quebec, which is ridiculous. As Lucien Bouchard said at the time, Anglos are us. They are us. So why did this shift happen? In my opinion, it's pretty easy. I mean, François Legault and his gang just tried to make some political gain with dividing people about language, which works to a certain extent, and we'll see if they keep going in the future.
Yeah, we'll have to see, Maître Bérard, if they keep going and what the results will be. Again, constitutional lawyer and political commentator, Maître Frédéric Bérard, thank you for taking the time.
My pleasure.